friends, that's what they call me, and today we're going to be reviewing Gorillaz' newest album, Cracker Island. This is the 8th studio album by animated band and Jamie Hewlett/Damon Albarn collab project, Gorillaz. It's a follow-up to 2020 Song Machine Season 1, a big return to form for the band and their best work since 2010's Plastic Beach. That album threw everything at you, sacrificing consistency for a great set of tracks that took inspiration from a variety of different places. Cracker Island, on the other hand, is very tame in comparison. It's kind of akin to the Now Now coming after Humans, however I even think the Now Now has this one beat. This record's synthpop stylings are pleasant enough, however it lacks a lot of the creative bite and interesting production that makes Gorillaz such a force in the music industry. The opening title track, Cracker Island, is one of the best songs on the project though, with some very funky beats and synths to guide us along on the track as we get a little call and response vocal style going between Damon and Thundercat here. The chorus even has this sort of disco vibe going on with the very funk-influenced guitar and the ethereal synths in the background as well. Even though Thundercat doesn't really have a dedicated verse on this track, I find that his background vocals really accentuate the song in a very energetic way. It adds to a lot of the song's energy, I feel. The lyrics are also a pretty interesting look at this fictional world of Cracker Island in the Gorillaz lore, I suppose. It largely deals about fame worship and cult-like behavior with people not thinking critically about stuff that they're consuming. Oil is another great track, taking those dance-like vibes in a very dreamy and sometimes even somber direction. The synths do still have that bubbly undertone to them, however I find that it does so in a more longing way this time around, like Damon is trying to find a genuine piece of human connection in this track. Like Thundercat, Stevie Nicks doesn't have a dedicated verse on this one, however, again, I do think her background vocals add to the dynamic of the song, kind of painting the picture of two people calling out for each other. This is especially prevalent in the implied message of the lyrics, as many people are finding it even easier to make connections online. However, these connections, because the internet is so vast, they ultimately end up feeling largely surface level. The Tired Influencer is an example of the album at its more mid moments, to be honest. It's not a bad track, but it's just kind of existing with not much really going for it. I do like the series samples to properly convey the technological angle to the song, but the execution kind of leaves a lot to be desired. The light and rigid beat just doesn't have much of a punch to it, and while the toy-like piano can be pretty interesting in a more lush-sounding song, here it just sounds very stripped back and bare. Damon's vocals are pretty nice, however, it's just not enough to save how nothing this instrumental feels. Silent Running is probably the best song on the record, feeling very fleshed out thanks to those shimmering synths and groovy guitar and keys. Damon's vocals are velvety and fun, and the instrumental seems to love to follow him around, providing a very good backbone to the vocals. It has that swaying, almost beach-like vibe to the track that makes it very easy and pleasant to listen to without sacrificing the complexity in the layers of the instrumental. Adelaide also gives his vocal support on this one, adding a very soulful touch to the track that really rounds everything out. The lyrics also share this sweet and breezy vibe, as they're basically talking about trying to find beauty in things around you and just doing your best in the situation that you're in. The next track, New Gold, is one of the best songs on the project as well. We're returning to the funk influence explored previously thanks to an engaging beat, suave synth, and a psychedelic vocal tone provided by Tame Impala. Booty Brown is also a pretty welcome addition, as we haven't really seen him much recently in the Gorillaz canon, so it was nice to see him back. He once again brings his fluid flows and unique vibe to the song that really enhances the overall cadence of the song, I think. It's fun, and the combination of this slick instrumental and these two very different yet balanced vocal styles, they just make this track the ultimate vibe. It almost reminds me of like a Hot Natured song or something like that style of electronica. It's cool. Baby Queen has some pretty interesting subject matter about how Damon met a princess of Thailand back in his early Blur days. However, instrumentally, it just falls into the same traps as the Tired Influencer. The vocals aren't much better as well. Like, again, it's not bad, but it just kind of exists. Tarantula is a really fun one though, thanks to the dynamic and punchy keys and sample combo. The guitar is playful and the bass is really going at it at portions, making it pretty unique in terms of vibe compared to a lot of the other songs on the project. That chorus is super light and engaging, opting for a more sing-along, sing-song vibe that kind of gives this song a cuteness to it, or an innocence to it, which is pretty different for Gorillaz. Something about the instrumental and those vocals give off a wistful sense of bliss. It just has a really interesting energy to it. The lyrics also follow suit, as when Damon or Tootie are feeling down, they can always turn to this lover or this person of interest to make them feel better. It's an oddly, straightforward love pop song for Gorillaz, but I'm a fan. Unfortunately, Tormenta is probably the only song on the record that I'm not into at all. Modern Latin pop and reggaeton are pretty hit or miss for me, unfortunately, Bad Bunny included, and this was a miss. It's not even necessarily the fault of Bad Bunny or Damon's vocals or anything like that, it's just that the instrumental is far too skeletal for my liking. That simple drum kit sounds limp, and the tropical sounding keys just don't make me feel much of anything. There's just nothing really to this track, and even lyrically I feel like the love song angle here was done better by the previous song. Unfortunate tangent aside though, Skinny Ape is probably one of the most interesting and fun songs on the project as we approach its end. It has this weird blend of funky synth pop and electronica mixed with a pop rock, even pop punk tendencies at times. It reminds me of what we've seen from artists like Slow Tie recently, both on Gorillaz and in his own projects. It's definitely the wackiest song on the record, and yet, weirdly, it kind of feels the closest to the self-titled era, both in terms of cadence and I guess general Gorillaz lore. It's pretty interesting to see stuff with this tone again from the band. Lyrically, I like how Damon is kind of sticking up for the younger generation here, maybe it's just my bias showing, but I like how he's basically saying that they've been kind of treated too unfairly and harshly, and how Damon's generation is skinny and with jaded legs and bones. It's just a good time overall. Possession Island, unfortunately, is kind of an anticlimactic way to end the project. Beck's collab back on Song Machine Season 1 was great, but this one just doesn't do anything for me. It's a fine enough, mellow, acoustic guitar ballad, but coming off of Skinny Ape, I feel like we kind of ended off on the wrong note here. There's honestly not even much to say about it since it tends to be pretty samey all the way through, with some added flourishes of piano here and there. That horn segment near the end, though, was a really nice touch, and I feel like should have been the main focal point of this track. It's nothing special overall, though, and it just kind of feels like a very mundane way to end the record. Overall, like I said before, it kind of feels like what Gorillaz did when they released the Now Now after Humans, kind of the more light and breezy project or more mellow project after the collab extravaganza. However, I feel like this album is just too samey and safe. It almost sounds like it's just a bunch of B-sides that never saw the light of day from other projects. Instrumentally, a lot of these tracks are very simplistic and bare, not having that interesting and lush production style that albums like Song Machine Season 1, Plastic Beach, and Demon Days were known for. I can say that this is still pretty good synth pop though, and the return to somewhat of the cadence of their first record was pretty entertaining to see. Of course, this is especially prevalent on Skinny Ape. However, once you've released groundbreaking albums in the past like Gorillaz has, being pretty nice just isn't really enough to satisfy the expectations set by its precedent. Overall, I'm feeling a light 6 on this new album by Gorillaz. Of course, we have to talk about album covers on this show, and I think this one's alright. It's not as stylistically design-heavy as, say, Song Machine Season 1 or Plastic Beach or the self-titled or whatever, right? But I feel like this one does do a good job in kind of tying the album into the lore. The cover is a bit more lore-heavy, I suppose, or lore-intricate compared to some of their past albums, so I think that was pretty cool. Get Jamie's artwork on full display here. I think it maybe is a little busy for an album cover, but overall, I think the sort of casual energy that it has does fit the sound of the project. But of course, those are just my thoughts on this newest album by Gorillaz. What did you guys think? Do you think this was not exactly what you were hoping for, a little less intricate than you would have liked to follow up Song Machine? Or is this kind of light and breezy, sort of simple project exactly what you were looking for? Let me know. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, ring the bell if you want me to upload more, because I really need to get back on that. My schedule is coming. The more videos are coming, don't worry. But until the next one, farewell.